I've worked with a lot of logo design clients over the past few years. I've been in this job for like 7 years, making logos, making things look beautiful, and also sharing some of what I've learned and experiences with you guys to hopefully help you in your creative endeavors. So I thought I would help anyone out there who's just thinking about becoming a freelance designer, or even if you already are a freelance designer, on how to take criticism, feedback, how to set up payments with clients and making sure you actually get paid, but also how to have successful client projects. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Okay, so first of all, I'll be the first to admit a lot of my projects have not been as successful as I want them to be. That doesn't mean the whole project went out the door. It just wasn't a very nice experience, and I've learned a lot as to why. I've tried to grow in my insight of who I am and why I do what I do when it comes to like motions and, you know, the way that I work. What I found is that to be a good designer, you have to have empathy. Now, I like to think that I have a lot of empathy in what I do as a job in the design industry, because without empathy, you really can't read clients very well. You really can't look at a business like objectively and see what the customer wants. Empathy is like a huge factor when it comes to being a designer now. There was this project that I was working on a few years ago where it was for, I can't really say the companies because it's a very, you know, you never know what will happen if I say the company name. But I was working for this logo for this client, and he was a really cool guy, really business guy. You know, you can't get him wrong. You know, he knew what he wanted and he knew where he wanted to go in his business. Now, normally you would think, oh yeah, this is great. You've got a client, you know, you can work with them and, you know, it's great. He knows exactly what he wants. So this should be an easy project. However, for me, it was slightly different emotions. I wasn't like really excited. I was kind of at ease, but I knew that because he knew what he wanted, which was this certain type of logo, it was like an illustration of an animal, that I knew he was going to be hard to play with. By that, I mean it's going to be hard to create better ideas for him. One thing that I've learned in this industry when I'm doing client work is that normally someone will think that they come up to you as a logo designer and say, well, we just want a logo of, I don't know, a cat for this cattery. And maybe you as a designer go, well, yeah, that's very obvious, but we could do something better. And then the client won't budge. He just wants that cat. He just wants you to produce what he's got in his head. That was the kind of project that I was on a couple of years ago. Now, the problem with that, again, is that it took revision after revision after revision. I managed to get breakthroughs within that project where I sort of said, you know, this isn't working, we're just going through revision after revision, so we need to sort of come up with a concept and solidify that concept and basically go back to the drawing board if it doesn't work and we start up off a new concept. I would say that I probably wasted a couple weeks with that client because of that situation. Those weeks were not productive, and I don't mind however long a project takes. I don't mind if it takes 4 months, 6 months or whatever. This branding project took like 4 months, I think, or 3 months, can't remember. But most of that was unnecessary because he wasn't listening to me. Now, obviously, I can't blame the client all the time. You can't, as a designer, always blame the client because they don't know how we work most of the time. A lot of people have this conception as a designer. Someone will come to me and say, I want this kind of logo, you make it look good. When in reality, it is us saying, you know, well, you tell us what you need and we'll give you what you need. So that's basically what it is. We sort of like dissect the market and say, you know, this design is good because of this, this, and this, rather than a client saying to us, we want this because it looks cool. So we finished up that project with that client who wanted that strange animal illustration, and it was a successful logo. I did enjoy it. We made it successful at the end because I was agreeing with him on certain points, and his sort of brand strategy made it clear for that animal logo. Now, what could I have done different to make that process a heck of a lot more easier than what it was? There was a really strange whining in my camera there for a sec. I think what I could have done differently in that project was to set an expectation for him as to how we work. So something that I didn't do because I think I was going to America and things were happening, you know, my work was sort of not taking off, but I was traveling around and I was doing workshops and things in America. I think I could have just sat with him on a Skype call or whatever, and I've just said to him, look, I think the best way to do this would be if I was to give you my concepts first instead of you giving me yours. So get all of these concepts out of my head and then we can collaborate. But I will advise you on what you should do as someone that you're hiring for this project. That's one way I could have dealt with it. The next sort of story is a payment story. Ooh, payment stories are never a good story to have. And again, obviously I can't talk about any specifics to do with this, but there once was a client who didn't pay me on time and then didn't even pay me for the rest of it for a long time as well. So this classic story of a client not paying me sort of went like this. He signed a contract, he paid the 50% deposit late, and he wanted work, and I sort of withheld that work from him, which was the exact right thing to do. We were working for about 2-3 weeks on this project, every day just doing the work that I needed to do for him, sending him concepts and revisions and things like that, coming up with like the strategy behind it, the board of the company, seeing how the sort of tonality of what the colors were doing in the logo, and it was working really well, and I was kind of excited, but I think I was very naive to not see what was going on. So what ended up happening was that as we were finishing the project, he really wanted the work, and I have always been a believer that I should get paid first before you get the rest of the work, that there should be a transfer that is fair, because it's a lot easier for me to send a logo to him than for him to send me however much money, and it was a lot of money to get that logo after. You know, they may forget to send that logo, or they may just not pay you until they have like legal repercussions. So what happened was I stupidly enough gave him the logo. I remember thinking when I sent it, you know, it'll be fine. Like, I trust this guy. He's a really nice guy. What ended up happening was months went down the line and I didn't get paid, and I was chasing him up. And I won't talk about exactly how I got paid, but I did get paid in the end after a lot of trying. Now, if you're in this position, which a lot of creatives, freelancers, people who work in this industry where they don't have like a massive legal team around them, if you're ever in this situation, there's a few things that you can do to make sure that you do get paid on time every time. Number one is to set expectations within the contract of where you're getting paid, how you're getting paid, when you're getting paid. My contracts and paperwork are very simple to read. I make it so it's not loads and loads of paperwork. I don't think it helps, and I know it doesn't help in the freelance industry having like 20 pages of clauses of different things. It doesn't help. I like to keep business clean and simple with a couple pages just for them to be able to read through so they know what they're signing up for. Within those contracts, it talks about how I get paid and the transfers, the account numbers where I get paid from, and that you would pay the transfer fee if you are, you know, international or whatever, so I don't get penalized for that. So when you first start a project like me, I always make it clear that we have a 50-50 split. Now, a lot of people talk about the 50-25-25 or the 25-25-50, and I completely disagree with this concept. I keep it 50-50 because of the psychological impact it has on me and the client. When we're at 50-50, no one is a boss. You are both collaborators working towards a common goal. You're working towards to get paid so that company can be successful and to get that logo to them. They're working on getting their company successful and to have that logo so they can make more money or to actually get this investment going. The best way to get a client to pay you is to really give off the investment mentality. I've talked about this a few times. If your client has the budget mentality where they say we have a budget, which is completely fine, you can have a budget, that's cool, but this is my price. If they have that mentality of a budget, then sometimes we need to use our minds a little bit and to sort of not educate them, but to show them and inform them that this is actually an investment into your company, and it's a pretty hefty investment. Getting a design that is the face of your company for the next 20 years, huge investment. Normally, once I've told them about this and the way that I perceive my work and the way that I need them to be successful for me to have a job, I need their companies to be successful for good stories and success stories, then normally it works fine. So 50-50 keeps me on an even keel. When you do 25-50 or 25-25-50 or whatever you want to split it down to, it does not work. The reason why is that they can withhold that money from you every time. Given the more chances to pay you, the less likely you are to get paid. Now, I would never accept money all in a oneer. I rarely do that. I've done it twice in my career where someone that I've known online in a certain way, like a business or a brand, they've said, oh, we'll just give you the money straight away. I don't really do that because it doesn't keep us on an even keel. It sort of makes like the client think that I've ruined them a little bit for a while. I don't do that. I like 50-50. When you do 25, 50, or however you want to split it, a lot of people talk about milestones. So you can have a milestone payment process. Now, again, if you're working on a logo, you can have micro milestones, but there's not really any huge milestones to be gained in a logo design concept. Sure, if you're doing brand guidelines, mock-ups, and a website for them and the logo, there's specific milestones right there from the website to the brand guidelines to the mock-ups to whatever. But what I would always suggest is to keep it 50-50 and then make sure you have a plan in place of when those will be paid. So before we've even started the project, you say, I want the 50% before work so I can start the work. And then before I even send it to you, when we have the previews sent to your email, and when I've said to you, yep, it's done, and we're both happy with it, and we both think that this can work, and everyone's just all good with it, and it's signed off, you pay me, I send it to you. This way you never ever get into real trouble with them. Now, what happens if a client says, the work isn't that good, we're not going to pay you? Well, what you can do then is tell them not to use any of the work that you've done already. The deposit is kept. You keep that deposit. You never give that deposit back if you've done the work. If the client says we want to use the product, then that is not going to happen. Don't let it happen. Tell them, no, well, the project is still mine. It is not legally yours. It is yours once you've paid for it and it's signed off by you. That's basically how I do it. I make sure that clients understand, and it's very fair on both sides actually. I make sure they understand that every project that I do starts off with a 50% deposit. I do the work, and then once we've done it and we're both happy, you send the next 50, I send the file. Nothing other than that. A little bonus for you: if a company goes bust whilst they're asking for you to do this, or they realize they don't have the cash to pay you straight away, then it is our jobs as creatives to make sure that we assist them on this. So this is the only time when I would suggest to create what's known as a payment plan. If someone owes you $1,000 or something like that, you can either let it slide or you can make sure that they pay you depending on the amount. I would always say make sure they pay you because you never know what position they're in, but what you don't want to do is turf someone out onto the streets. You don't want anything like that bad to happen. You want to make sure that you get what you worked for. So set up a payment plan that they can afford within a few months, and you can do this by yourself or with a legal representative. Another way to make sure you get paid if they're just withholding it and they're just saying no and all this, and they may be using your work, go and get some legal counsel. Go and get someone like a lawyer, a solicitor, or someone who works in law to write a letter, a legal letter to them, asking them for the payment, and then it will sort of deliberate from there. I would always suggest, if it gets hairy, to hire a lawyer. I just want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you don't know, Squarespace is an online website builder that I've been using for years. Now, if you're new to the design industry, then you won't be new to Squarespace. Squarespace has been around for a long time. I've been using Squarespace for years now to actually have a portfolio on my website, to sell my brushes, to also show people my work, and to basically brand myself. Everyone needs a website, whether you're a cook, a designer, someone who's looking for a job. Everyone needs a website. Well, Squarespace is amazing for anyone who needs one because they're really affordable when it comes to creating beautifully designed websites. You don't even need to be a designer or a web design wizard. Squarespace makes it very easy for everyone to have a website, and I chose a template and edited it. It doesn't take long. If you'd like your very own website and to try it for 30 days for free to build it and then get 10% off your first purchase, please click that link down below in the description. I promise you, you will not be disappointed, and it helps the channel out. If you enjoyed this video, please press that red subscribe button down below in this video. It's been proven that generosity makes you a happier person, so subscribing to me for completely free is a very generous act. If you liked the video, then press that like button. If you hated the video, press the dislike button twice, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.
I wake up, flex, thumb down now, check, no drip this, wet. Tell him run it up, no sleep, no rest, might crash, might wreck, but first I stretch, tell him run it up. I wake up, flex, thumb down now, check, no drip this, wet. Tell him run it up.